See, this is the second channel video now, because we just did 25 fucking minutes on topic.
Flat straps, so to speak. Like
One
Jack
take,
Sprat, who could take
no
fat,
breaks.
and his wife could take no lean.
Also, because I'm too fucking hammered to edit anything, so there is no fucking edits going in that. But it doesn't need any. We were fucking on topic for 25 minutes. Who can do that?
Which was not bad, because Slenderman was at the window looking at us. It was really fucking
I
weird.
swear to Christ, I saw him out there. I see. This is we do this in the shed behind my house, right?
The studio.
The studio, Angry Studios, and it's very dark out there. That's all I'm saying. It's very dark out there. Shit can get us between the studio and the house.
It's not like you can pretend you're in bed and then we'll just, pull your feet up. You've just got to go, no, I'm going to be brave about it. I'm going to be brave. And Slenderman's not going to get me. And
I have no idea what my neighbours think either. we weren't that shouty.
They do when we blow shit up. We know what they think then, because they tell us.
We've got one neighbour. I've got one neighbour. AIDzee visits. He doesn't leave it. I've got one neighbour who knows what I do for YouTube, and I had to explain him. It's a while since we blew anything up, but we did blow up a printer a little while ago, and I had to
for research purposes. I
had to explain to my neighbour Ollie. No, it's just for YouTube, Ollie. It's cool.
Yeah.
And Ollie was cool with that. But Jesus, didn't we fucking learn? We learned two things.
Two
out
important
of that.
things.
If you look back in the back catalogue for dry ice explosions with Angry Aussie, I get light and easy food that occasionally gets packed in dry ice, and we put it in a bottle, a Pepsi bottle, like with water, and then screw the top on, and then the dry ice, which is solid carbon dioxide, expands on contact with water to the point where the plastic bottle can't contain it anymore, and it explodes. Now, technically, it's not a bomb.
No.
But there's an explosive force. The plastic bottle stretches to its limits, and when it reaches the limit,
the material fails
spectacularly,
and all at once.
For shits and giggles, a while ago, we did this with. Well, actually, we did it twice.
We did it twice
with an old printer. Once we did it, and you know when you get those printer scanner fax combos. Seriously, you get them from like Officeworks for $50.
Right.
It's cheaper to buy a new one than it is to replace the inks, and that's why I was blowing it up. I was making a point.
We had an environmental message.
It was sociological. It was environmental, and the first time we did it as a test, I jammed the bottle in this printer, and it didn't go off, and we both, shrewdly as it turns out, said don't go near it.
We're just gonna
we're
just gonna leave this. We're not gonna go near it.
I went over to it, and the bottle was still making creaking noises,
which is not a good sign.
And I thought, I don't want to move that bottle and change its stress points and have the fucker blow up in my face.
No.
And so we just went inside and were chatting, and I shit you not, 15 minutes later, while we were talking, there was this doof noise from the backyard. The fucking thing had exploded 15 minutes later. And we went out there, and the printer was blown into fuck knows how many pieces.
Several thousand pieces.
But the glass shield on it had just splintered into bits this big.
Tiny little splinters. Tiny little, maybe 5 millimeters across.
And I don't know what you think about my cavalier, carefree life, but the initial thought was, Mrs. Angry will kick my ass so fucking hard.
So here's two supposedly grown men in the backyard, down on all fours, picking out little bits of glass out of the grass in case Mrs. Angry came home early. And we were just like madly going around, and we had we had this bottle that we were putting all the glass in so that we could guesstimate that we'd got it all. And we went over this place about 4 or 5 times, and we were still finding glass a month later.
I swear to fuck, a month later, I would be in the backyard and pick up a little bit of glass and go, oh, fuck me, there's still some more glass out here.
Just incredible.
So we thought, in fact, we had finished our little sort of emu pick of picking up the bits just before Mrs. Angry got home.
Which was good.
We thought we were okay, but then when she kept saying, because she's the gardener in the house, if anyone follows my Instagram and shit, you see me posting photos of flowers and stuff. Mrs. Angry grows all them. She was finding bits of glass, and I just had to confess and say, yeah, that was us. That was us.
But we got most of it. We got most of it. Which was, you know, my plaintive cry after.
So what we did, because
Still got in trouble.
I had another old printer, this video's on my channel. Before we blew that up, we actually knocked the glass out of it.
I know, right?
Fuck that. We are not picking up this fucking glass again. So you can see that video, and I've slow-moded and it's insane the amount of force a soda bottle with dry ice in it exerts. Okay, do not fuck with this stuff. Okay,
No,
kids,
really don't.
because it will fuck. It's technically not an explosive. It's not like if you do like a bleach bomb, which would classify it as an explosive device.
So it's a difference. Okay, so it is explosive technically, but it's not a firearm.
Yeah, it's the force of the plastic bottle reaches the limit of its stresses, and when it gives way, that release is significantly explosive. And it has quite a bit of destructive force. So don't fuck with this shit, kids.
No, because you'll lose a hand.
I mean,
Easily. A bit of plastic will go through your eye really quickly.
yeah. The shrapnel will fuck you up, and it would certainly blow your eardrums out.
Oh, quite easily.
The noise this makes is fucking astronomical. And that is just pure physics. It's the plastic reaching a stress point, and then that stress releasing instantaneously.
Yeah.
And the force involved in that is fucking astronomical.
Because those soda bottles are over-engineered to take the pressure of a carbonated water. And they're over-engineered about 4 or 5 times. So that, you know, if they're dropped or if they're damaged en route or if they're crushed or anything, they're not going to fail. And all of a sudden you've got like tons and tons of cola in the back of a truck, you know, failing all over the road. So they're over-engineered. Yeah. So as a result, the pressure that they can handle is quite phenomenal.
Because every time I've done this, I've freaked out and pussied out and just go, oh God, I can feel the pressure building up. Screw the lid on. Run, you motherfucker.
Run away.
And it's always taken 30 to 60 seconds to explode. But I thoroughly recommend discretion in these cases, okay?
And once you've said it, don't go back.
No, and that was the lesson we learned. Like this time...
Just don't go back.
When it didn't explode...
Oh, this one's a dud, I'll go on. No, you'll do nothing.
I swear to fuck, we went back in the house and we're just talking and shit, and 15 minutes later, it fucking exploded. And it didn't just go pop. You think your standard printer fax combo, scanner combo, exploded. If you happened to be standing next to it, the shrapnel would have torn you to fucking pieces.
Thousands of pieces in a large radius. So once you ever set up anything like for a demo, just leave it. Just bloody leave it.
Walk the fuck away is what we're saying. I mean, again, if you're in the US or places where fireworks is still legal, you'll be thinking, yeah, pussies, we can get there. And I've been in the US on the 4th of July. Awesome as.
Awesome.
Fucking loved it. Blowing shit up and stuff. I was in Colorado. Last time I was in the US on the 4th of July, I was in Colorado, where technically the fireworks are illegal, but we bought them in Nevada.
Oh, well, there you go.
Where they were legal. And we had little bottle rockets. The little ones are really fucking cool. And we soon worked out, the neighbours across the road clearly aren't home, because we were holding these little bottle rockets until they zooshed out of our hand. And more than once, the one I was holding hit what they do is they zoosh and then explode somewhere in the distance. More than once, I was hitting the window of a house across the road, and they were exploding, and we were just laughing, saying, "Well, they're clearly not home," because they would have called the cops on our ass by now if that had happened. And I love explosives. When I was a kiddie, fireworks got declared illegal in Australia when we were kiddies.
Yeah, they kept on blowing up little kiddies.
What happened is kiddies would break open the fireworks for the gunpowder and make bigger bombs out of them. And this happened in my hometown. I grew up in the country, and this happened to some kiddies. This was happening all over the country, but it happened to some kiddies in my town when I grew up. They were making pipe bombs. They had copper tubes with a screw on at each end and a fuse, and they were having heaps of fun filling a copper tube, which explodes like fuck, screwing on the ends, putting a fuse in, lighting it and throwing it, and kaboom. And what happened to these dicks one time is there was some gunpowder in the thread of the bit they put in the end. And when they screwed the cap in, that caused a spark, and it blew up in their hands and literally blew their hands off. So they're like, little two-fingered kiddies from now on. And that's the sort of shit that got fireworks made illegal in Australia.
Man, that'll do it every time.
Yeah. And in America, you're a fucking, land of the free and shit. About half the states, anyway, sell explosive devices for fun and recreation. I have to admit, the 2 times I've been to the States that were fucking awesome, 4th of July and Halloween. Both of those events were fucking awesome for different reasons. 4th of July, because you got to blow shit up. And I'm a complete fucking hypocrite. Like, we're both sort of radical lefties, even by Australian standards, let alone American standards.
That would be fair.
We're the loony left, quite fairly. I am in favour of Australian gun control laws, but I've got some awesome redneck friends I've made through YouTube, living in places like West by God, Virginia, and in the Appalachians and the Deep South. And I swear to fuck, I get to visit you guys in the States. You are taking me out, and we're going to shoot guns and blow shit up.
Yay.
Because I'm a complete fucking hypocrite. I don't want that shit in my own country, but if I'm in your country...
Well, when in Rome, we
get to shoot things and blow things up.
Pizza and go to the Colosseum.
I'm all over that shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So,
swap recipes.
That's the funny thing. And I think that's also why I've managed to make friends with people who are politically on the other end of the spectrum to me, because we are honest with each other. And we say, look, there are these free speech things that we both care about. There's a whole fuckload of things we disagree on, but yeah,
it's not the end of the world.
And if I visit you and you've got guns, I'm gonna fucking shoot them. And and that's the thing. I think that's the thing that makes some of my conservative friends giggle in the US, that I'm completely open about being a complete fucking hypocrite on that front. I don't play the game of going, no, I'm better than you.
No.
I'm better than you. No.
No one's pretending that.
I grew up in the country. You grew up in Canberra, which is fucking crazy town that might as well, even though it's the national capital, it might as well be a country town, because
for a long time it was just a big country town.
Fucking mental place to live. And we're prepared to embrace.
Oh yeah.
Like violence, chaos. You particularly are a fan of chaos.
I am, rather.
Yeah. And it's all good. And I think that's where we have managed to connect with people who are in different places on the political spectrum, because the honesty, if people can be honest, there are people, okay, we identify as lefties, and we fucking hate people who we think are dishonest and two-faced and
But you get them all over the spectrum.
On the left. And on the right, we don't like it. But we've made friends in people on the right. Like, you know what? I can respect you. You're open. You like, say, fuck you to power. and respect the individual. We're lefties who respect individuals, but we're open to dialogue. It's only with people that aren't open to dialogue that we don't really have a lot of time with.
Not really. Not really.
And fuck it, man. We went to the same uni in the 80s that was fucking controlled by the original feminazis. Okay?
It was a
You
brutal,
fucking pussy
brutal.
men's rights advocates who complain about feminazis. You do not
idea.
know shit. These women literally controlled our fucking fates while we were at uni, okay?
Absolutely.
And they disliked us purely because we had penises, okay? And we would make friends with people just by being honest. Honestly, I did shit at uni when I look back at it and go, God, you're a dick.
Oh, I never did. No, that's not quite real. That's not quite
Seriously, about 6 to 12 months after I finished uni, I met up with someone who'd been there at the same time as me. Yeah, coffee. Sit down, have a chat. Hey, how's life treating you in the big city now if you reached uni? And her first question to me was, how did you get so many people to hate you? And it's probably because I didn't play their games.
That would be it.
Also, there would be a part of me being a complete dick. Okay?
Yeah, that's probably part of it
That
as well.
too, as well. But there were all the political games when we were at uni. And if you didn't fit into a particular orthodoxy, Jesus Christ, it would punish you.
It was a lonely road. It was a lonely, brutal road out there on your own.
See, we were in a theatre course that only had 25 people each year. All the other courses had hundreds of people every year. There were 25 of us in each year. And it was us against the fucking world, quite honestly. And so when people took something personal against us, we were just kind of, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, it changed a little bit because on this guy's way out, there was a new program put in place. They were always looking to chop the theatre course up.
Yeah.
They were always looking to chop it out. And one of the ways they were going to do that is they were going to choke off the last of its money. And so what they did was they went and did a deal with the local city council to put on entertainment during a huge car racing festival.
We went to college in Bathurst in New South Wales, where there's a racing track called Mount Panorama. The major motor vehicle race there has changed names over the year.
But it's 1,000 kilometres of the big touring cars, and they go round and round for a day.
Fords and Holdens racing. It's a full day race. They also have motorcycle races there, and we decided and this was at the tail end of my time there and the start of AIDzee's time there, because I'm slightly older than AIDzee. We decided to essentially embrace this full-on bogan culture, right?
Full on.
Motor racing, motorcycle racing.
And the city council wanted a way to get the boys off the mountain and into the town and spending their money.
Yeah.
And so they knew there was a lot of families there, so they said, can you put on family entertainment in the daytime and a cabaret sort of thing at night? And we said, we can do that for you, part with many hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they said, that we can do. And so what we would then do is we would go around to the rest of the uni and recruit 500 people. And so you went from being a theatre student to basically a crew manager. You had between 20 and 50 people under you that you organised for the 4 weeks setting up and for the 2 weeks of the festival and the 1 week of the cabaret show and the 2 days of the in-town party. And this was a huge event. It was a massive event, and it was what our whole year was set up around, because then we would have the money to continue the course, right? And so we had to go and recruit these people into the theatre, and then we had to train them, and then we had to set them up, and then we had to work them, rehearse them, and then put on the show. And what was fascinating to me was these people didn't know anything. They basically were full of criticism most of the year. They were full of criticism for what we were putting on. But then when we went and got them, they didn't know basic things. They didn't know how to basically stand up in front of a group of people and shout. They didn't know how to time themselves in an act. They didn't know how to juggle. They didn't know how to dance. They didn't know how to not shit themselves when they were on stage. They didn't know how long it would take to get in and out of a theatre. They didn't know anything, and so we had to train them very, very basic skills, very, very basic entertainment skills. And these people had a ball. They had a wild time. They were superstars for a couple of weeks, and they all said, "Oh, this has been fascinating. I'm going to swap courses," and some of them actually did. But it was really interesting to see this because there was only ever 25 of us a year, so there's only ever 75 of us against the rest of the world. But then when we invited the rest of the world in, we found that we could get our recruits, but we would lose literally half of them because as push came to shove, they'd get scared and run away. And we would say, no, don't do that, because the big party afterward is just to die for. And it was an enormous party. It was done at a country property. There was kegs, there was food, there was dancing, there was horizontal folk dancing, big bonfires, lots of comestibles and lots of things to smoke and drink. And it was great. And so every night after we finished the show was party time, and every day was working time. And we would sleep at the uni for the last 3 weeks, getting the show together. We would sleep there at the uni because we'd have to make things 24 hours a day. 500 people doing a big circus act in the middle of town with giant puppets and giant balloons and giant lanterns and giant flags and all that kind of things. Then you do the parade, which had more giant stuff in it. So we'd have to make all this stuff out of cardboard and paint. And then we'd have to set all this stuff up and go. So it was like this rolling infantry army that was invading a town for 2 weeks, and you had to run these people like that for 3 weeks. And so eventually our good name got besmirched all over the rest of the uni, and people said, no, don't hassle them. What they do is actually a lot harder than it looks. And yeah, we made some good friends. We smoked some good pot. We had a good dance. It was fun. Yeah.
And the weirdest thing to me is the completely unplanned thing that we couldn't possibly have known. This training that we both had has set us up perfectly for YouTube. It's create original content with no budget, with no resources, just get people involved. You've got 2 sticks and a piece of paper and 30 minutes. Make something that will now entertain a crowd. And it's insane how purpose-built that is for YouTube. So if anyone wants to know, like, you may now be looking at whatever the fuck the timer is at the moment, going, how did those guys do that in one take? And that was with no preparation. We did not know what we were going to talk about before we started talking. It's the training we had. We can create in any situation with incredibly limited resources.
Lean and fast.
And create something that will engage a crowd and bring them in. And that is perfectly suited to YouTube. And we had no way of knowing that when we were being trained.
Well, there was no internet then.
No, this is the fucking 90s, for fuck's sake.
No, it was
late 80s, early 90s.
There was no internet. Computers were green screens with green writing,
And so here we are. If you've ever wondered, how can AIDzee and I talk shit non-stop? That's the training we had. It's as simple as that. Something from a completely different world has turned out to be perfectly suited for this world. And by cracky, we are going to do a lot more of it as well.
Absolutely.
So I hope you enjoyed this bit.
Indeed.
And we will do more bits sometime soon. And we will see you later.
Says bye.
Bye.
Says.